What's up, guys? What's going on? KASPA and crypto have been given the potential green light to explode. We'll go over that in a second. Most of you guys have probably already heard. But beforehand, make sure you pay your bar tabs. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and also, right down below me here, 10K subs. When we hit 10K subs, we are going to be giving away 10,000 KASPA to one lucky subscriber. So make sure you subscribe so you will be entered to win. How's everyone feeling? It's kind of an exciting day today for many reasons, but the biggest one being Jerome Powell potentially giving us our altcoin season that we've all been waiting for. Greg, Simon, Brocco, the what ups, welcome back. Jose, Ems, I appreciate you guys coming in to hang out, and make sure you get your questions and your comments in, and we'll get to those. I think I'm going to be able to get them back up on screen today. It seems like it's working. So hopefully I didn't just jinx myself, and you guys will be able to see the comments when I throw them up on the screen today. So obviously the Jackson Hole meeting was today, and Jerome Powell spoke, and literally don't think he could have been... I don't think it could have gone any better. I think we got literally the best case scenario that we could have possibly hoped for. I think the only better scenario would be that, you know, he comes out and says we're going to cut this month rather than next month. But he was very dovish, and he kept the window open, you know, for the rate cuts next month. And I don't know if anybody caught this. I'm paraphrasing here because I don't have the exact, dialogue in front of me. But they said that he said that he was going to go away from the 2% inflation mark and not use that as the baseline moving forward, which means if inflation does go up a little bit, then I don't know that it's going to be that big of a deal in their eyes. He used some weird terminology that I don't really know what it means, but or the word, some sort of word in that description, I don't know what it means. But when you break it down, the 2% inflation mark that we can't seem to quite get to is not going to be something that they are, steadfast, hard. We got to get there from this point forward, which is, even better news. Like, how many of you guys thought that was going to happen today? It just absolutely incredible. I woke up this morning with that news and was quite happy because, let's be honest, I thought, and I'm sure a lot of you guys thought out there as well, that Jerome Powell was just going to screw us again. And he was going to be hawkish, and he's just going to be his normal self where, I think it was last meeting where he even said that, there's a potential for rate hikes. And I was just bracing for it because I was like, this guy's never going to give us our alt season. He's messing with my crypto livelihood here and my money, and I was going to have to figure out where he lived and walk over there and punch him in the face if I could. But me and Jerome Powell are on good terms today, so. And he should be with everybody because, Jesus, not expecting the good news that came out today. Now, on that note, though, I'm going to pull this up. Oh, that's pretty big behind me. Let's shrink it a little bit here. So Jerome Powell hints at long-awaited rate cuts are coming soon. The first during Trump's term. I don't think that's the first rate cut during Trump's term. I think there... Oh, maybe it is, actually. Anyways, who cares? It looks like we're going to see rate cuts in September. The odds went back. They had come down to like 70-something%, and now they're back up above 90. So I don't know that he's going to go back on this now, and I think that we can, kind of breathe a sigh of relief that things are moving in the right direction. And I kind of thought all along that there's a plan in place where, we probably would still get our altcoin season in Q4 because that's what typically happens. But, you keep seeing the Fed not cutting rates, inflation start to go up a little bit, like all these little things, and you're like, oh man, I don't know. Maybe the cycle will be extended. Maybe, I don't know. I didn't know what was going to happen. I just was, bracing and trusting that things were going to work themselves out, and Q4 will be just like every other cycle, the market cycle top. We'll all make a hell of a lot of money, and we'll all be rich, and then we can all buy our KASPA colored Lambos. And today was a huge step in that direction. So, I'm not going to read this article, obviously, because we just kind of went over the bullet points to what he said today. But I just wanted to throw that up there as a visual so that you guys can see the titles of the articles that are being written. So, that being said, right, we have almost a for sure thing now of rate cuts happening next month. Even Jerome Powell has pretty much said it. But we still need to look at this, because I still think this is important. Just because the meeting went well today, that does not mean that we cannot have more red in the market, right? There is still a chance, based on history, that we're going to have a red September. Because every single, and I want people to not be alarmed if and when that happens. Ethereum today just made a new all-time high, and I would imagine it's gonna have resistance at that level. I think it barely cracked its previous all-time highs from last cycle, which is a massive, good thing for altcoins. But you also got to realize it's probably going to have some resistance and get a pullback from, its previous all-time high, which it just hit today. It may go up a little higher, right? It might convincingly make new all-time highs, but there's going to be a pullback, and I imagine that pullback's going to be in September, right? I don't know if it's going to be the beginning, the middle, the end, probably beginning or middle. And then in that case, the altcoins are going to pull back as well. But we might already be, a step higher, so a pullback just brings us back to where we are today. Who knows? But if you look at 2013, 2013, we had a green July and August and a red September. I know I've been over this before, but I want to reiterate. 2017, post-halving year, bull market year, we had a green July and August and a red September. And in 2021, post-halving year, bull market, we had a green July and August and a red September. And so there's a very high chance, in my opinion, that we're going to see a red September. It doesn't have to be massive red, but I think it's going to be red. And today's pump from, the news out of Jackson Hole has turned this August, this month that we're in right now, back into the green, into the positive. And so we're going to be ending this month in another week or so. And what's likely going to happen is 2025, post-halving year, bull market year, green July, green August, probably going to have a red September based on history. So just brace yourselves for that. And I think after we get that pullback in September, we probably start the parabolic run. If I were to take a very logical guess. And so that could be, I know everybody's been saying the last pullback, the final pullback before we go into the bull market, before we get this, before we get that. I know it's probably annoying to hear by now, but at some point very soon, and it looks like September is got a very good chance of being that we see a pullback, and then we literally go into that parabolic phase shortly after that. And that's my base case. That's what I think is probably going to happen. And I don't know if we're going to top out in October, November, or December, but I imagine if I were to take a educated guess, it's not even an educated guess, it's just a guess, I would say November, December is more logical, but October is possible. If we get super heated in October, I will be starting to take profits, for sure. But we're going to have to wait and see that play out. Like anything else, we just have to wait. And the waiting sucks, I know. But at least we got some relief today. And things look very, very bright moving into the rest of this year and Q4 of this year based on what we heard today. And let's hope it continues that way, right? So, another thing I wanted to throw up here real quick was I just made a video of this the other day, but the bull market peak indicators from CoinGlass, still 0 out of the 30 have hit. And this is what usually tells us when the top is in. Some of these indicators start to trigger and they start to flash, and they'll turn from a red X here to a green check mark, and you'll know that we're getting pretty heated, and you should probably see that in the market ahead of time. It should be pretty obvious, but just another, I guess, piece of news data that says that we have not topped out, and we're still probably going to get a top somewhere, I would say by the end of this year. I'm going to keep saying that because history tells us that's usually what happens based on all previous cycles. So could something change? Yeah, of course it can. But I'm not expecting it to unless we get in, we get through Q4 and nothing happened. And then, we get into territory where we're just like hoping that Q1 of next year is the top. But we don't even have to worry about that yet because things look like they are setting up. So, let's take a look. Have you guys seen these Binance, I guess, hints? A lot of people are saying this is the KASPA K, and it says coming home to Binance. But to me, that looks like the neon EVM logo, like almost to a T. But there's two other ones, and if you combine this, right, I mean, you can make an argument that that's a backwards K, right? But if you come down here and look at this other one, or other two, I should say, they're around here somewhere, I think. Or maybe they're not. I just saw them earlier today. That's too far. Nope. Okay, maybe we're not going to show this. Okay, here's the other one. A lot of people are saying this looks like an S. Right? I could kind of see that. And then there's an A right here. They're not in order. And they were separate posts from all in the same day. But if you put those next to each other, you can argue it might say KAS. I don't know. Right? To me, that other logo literally looks identical to the neon EVM logo. But, you know, I still think Binance is listing. We got smart contracts around the corner, which is like 9 days away. And market conditions look like they are set to reverse course, right, sometime in September, October. So I imagine Binance is going to list whenever they feel like market conditions have turned the corner for good and they can make as much profit on KASPA as quickly as they can when that does happen. So that's just my take on it. A lot of people are getting annoyed with the tier 1 listings, you know, all of that kind of stuff. And I understand. The crypto market is frustrating. We'll just put it that way. And you just have to put your head down and suck it up. And the ones who can do that for long enough will end up making money. It's that simple. Right? And we got to remember that Wolfie, who's in charge of getting exchange listings essentially for KASPA, has said Binance is in contact with them, reaches out to him every single week, making sure that they are updated on their end technically, I don't even know how to say it. They're updated technically on their end. And again, his words, I don't think they're doing that for fun. So I would be extremely shocked if we did not get a Binance spot listing this cycle, like during the parabolic run, where it could propel KASPA's price even higher than we potentially might think it goes. Also today, Kraken, or this might have been yesterday, Kraken has added the KASPA USDT pair. Before it was only USD, so you could only buy KASPA. You couldn't really trade with it. Now you're able to trade the KASPA USDT pair. And the USDT obviously is the top stablecoin in the market with by far the most liquidity in the market. So that is a good sign. And that is a good thing to see. So I think that's all that I wanted to talk about today. Although, before we jump into Q&A here, did you guys happen to see this? I know it's kind of been all over the webs. This video, I think, was recorded. It was a podcast recorded last night. And it's 7.5 hours long, so I only got a little bit into it. I can't sit for 7 hours straight and watch this. But I highly recommend, if you guys can, at least, do it in little bites and pieces if you can't sit down for 7.5 hours straight. But he interviewed Yonatan Sampolinsky, and there's some pretty good stuff in there. And the one thing I wanted to mention out of this video before, I'm going to probably make some dedicated shorter videos with some pieces that are in this because it's extremely long and there's some really good information. And that way we can narrow it down for some people who don't want to sit there and watch the whole thing. But Yonatan was asked, essentially, what his outlook, like for his role in KASPA, moving forward, because Bitcoin obviously has an anonymous founder, right? Or founders, we don't know. And that gives, some sort of intrigue into it, right? Because there's no central figure in theory. And he was asked, like, what does he see for himself in KASPA? If KASPA is, so similar to Bitcoin, then do you expect to be involved for, the remainder of the project, or do you plan to step away and just leave it up to the community? And he basically said after DAG Night, he's going to be involved because he still does a lot as far as dev work goes. But he basically mentioned after DAG Night upgrade, whenever that does happen, then everything goes off without a hitch and everything is running smooth, that he is essentially going to step away. He doesn't like to be in the spotlight. He doesn't like to have the target, on his forehead. And he just wants to go back to his, life of nobody knowing who he is, essentially, and, be more relaxed. And he thinks that after DAG Night is implemented, then, KASPA is essentially done. And there might be some, upgrades here and there, but they'll be very few and in between. And you just let it run, just like Bitcoin runs. It'll be highly scalable, though, and people can just build on it. And, there's no central figures to, like, point fingers at if things go wrong, what country they're from. I know that was a big thing for a while because of the war that was going on in the Middle East and, like, all that kind of stuff. He doesn't want any of that. He just wants to go back to doing his I'm sure he has fun. He probably codes for fun and working on stuff like that for fun and not have to worry about any of this, media backlash or, people, pointing fingers at him for this and that and the other. And so I think that's actually probably a good thing. And it takes, KASPA even more into a, Bitcoin clone, if you want to say that, but just better, right? Because you can do a lot more on it. It's faster, scalable. Transactions are, settled on the base chain, base layer, instead of, Bitcoin, where if you want them fast, you got to go off the base layer to do so. So I thought that was interesting, and I always had a feeling that at some point he might step away, right, to give more of that, like, in the shadow, mysterious intrigue about KASPA. And so let me know what you guys think about that. But that was just one thing that was kind of cool. Also, he does have a pet turtle, for those of you who didn't see. And the turtle's name is Bitcoin. That's what they call him, which I thought was funny. So let's get in to the comments. And I did see a comment from KASPA Queen that wants to see Bacon as a co-host, and I will go grab him in a minute. And that way we can get him on camera as well. Greg says, "What's up, KDK? Happy Friday." Yes, sir. Happy Friday. Brocco, cheers. Holy cow. I feel like Jerome Powell just did the cha-cha slide for the market today, and everyone started party rocking. Yes, that's exactly what happened. I woke up in a good mood because of that. And by the way, I had food poisoning last night, so I was up all night. Did not feel good, and I'm still here today. I feel better now. Not 100%, but I feel better. It was not a fun night, though. Brocco, tab is paid. I appreciate it. Everybody else, make sure. Pay your bar tabs. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. I don't know why you wouldn't hit the subscribe button, because you have a chance to win 10,000 KASPA. At the time that we hit 10,000 subscribers. And it's free. I'm not charging anybody anything. The only consequence is you might win 10,000 KASPA. Jose, what's up? Be more, pump my bags, Powell. That's exactly what happened today. And you know what, you guys, we're going to get past that 10 cents at some point. I know there's a ton of resistance, and we're going to, even make it back to the 20 cents and go higher. I mean, I don't see any scenario even if we don't get exchange listings, which I think are going to happen, we're going to surpass 20 cents again. I'm almost 100% positive of that. Because in a parabolic phase, everything goes up. Even little tiny meme coins with, no liquidity at all and are on only one decentralized exchange, they pump. You can throw a dart at the wall and probably make 5x. At least in past bull markets. I guess things could change. I know there's a lot more coins out there, so there'll probably be some differences this time around. But KASPA is not going to not pump with the rest of the market, even without Tier 1 exchanges. It's just not going to go as high as it would have. That's the only thing. Daniel, hi. Eric says he wants that 10,000 KASPA. I appreciate you liking the channel, too. The sooner we get there, the sooner we'll give it away. KASPA Queen, happy Friday, KD and the Cas fam. Welcome in, KASPA Queen. I think KASPA Queen was one of my very first subscribers, if I remember correctly. Crypto Bill, off the wall question. Why is your cat named Bacon? And where has he been? Well, that is a good question. And it's actually my fiance's cat, who is now my cat as well because we live together. But she had the cat before she moved in here, and she named it Bacon, and I literally don't know why the name is Bacon. I might have been told that before, but I think it was just an off-the-wall. Well, you say it's an off-the-wall question. I think it was just an off-the-wall, I'm going to name my cat Bacon. And what's funny is her dog is named Orion instead of Eggs, because I think bacon and eggs would have been funny. But I didn't know her at the time. Roy says he made it into the live chat while it's still live. Yeah. Do you usually make it after? I notice sometimes I go back and look at the comments and people are still talking after I stop. Roy Lee, love you, Cat Daddy. Love you too, Roy. I appreciate it. No homo. Okay, and so now that we've made it down to KASPA Queen's comment on Bacon, bear with me for 2 seconds while I go grab him. And here he is. And here he is. He made it. He made it. I don't think he's too happy, though. I just woke him up out of his bed. See if he'll just sit there for a minute. See his eyes? He looks pissed off. Am I even talking into the mic? Anyways, we'll let him walk around a little bit. But he did make his appearance. Master Chief says swimming with the whales. Facts. That is literally the number one thing and the easiest thing, in my opinion, to do is follow the whales, buy when they're buying, and sell when they sell. And you will make a lot of money. And know the cycle. It's a roughly 4-year, business cycle, and crypto follows that. Lenny, guess doesn't matter. Cass needs smart contracts and tier 1 listing. Well, Lenny, I don't know if you've been living under a log or a rock for the past number of months, but smart contracts do go live in about 9 or 10 days. And we don't have any confirmation on tier 1 listings, obviously, but my guess, which, matters as much as anyone else's guess, is that at bare minimum we're going to get a Binance listing. And I would imagine the Binance listing comes in Q4 when the market is going apeshit. That's my guess. What were you going to ask me? Why the cat's name is Bacon? Or something else? Abraham says that K House is definitely regarding KASPA. I say within 2 months it will be listed. I agree. I just think it'll be listed at some point in Q4. But 2 months from now we start Q4, so I'm on the same wavelength. I don't know if that's it definitely could. The house, the yellow house, definitely could be a backwards K for sure. Who knows? Are you talking about that 7.5 hour podcast, B-More? You watched that whole thing twice. I almost find that hard to believe. But if you did, I mean, either you've got a lot of time on your hands or more power to you, because that's a lot of watching. But that's good. I mean, Buster says, "Hey hi, Buster. Buster coin. You have your own coin? Great fan and KASPA Maxi. Hi to all from Buster. Looking forward to $2 high for KASPA. I would love a $2 high from KASPA. That I would love. There we go. I have no idea what V-Prongs is, B-More. Lenny, with Cass, I'm waiting exactly until Tier 1 listings, and then I am out. That is not a bad scenario. If you're planning to sell, that's a good time to sell, typically. I will be selling a lot of my KASPA and then buying back in next bear, but I will be keeping a percentage of it as well in a cold storage just in case it turns into what we think it might turn into. Trey says I could use an extra 10K cash. Bar tab paid. Appreciate it. Much appreciated. Hopefully we get to 10K by the end of this cycle. I don't know. I think once things start moving, prices start going up, I think more users will come into YouTube space in general, And maybe that's when we like pile on the subscribers and we can get somebody their 10K KASPA before the cycle ends, just in case they want to sell it at all-time highs or around all-time highs. That would be best case scenario. KASPA Queen says, you've got a great channel. I always enjoy listening. I always enjoy having you here. I appreciate it. Franny, do you think you can get an AMA with Wolfie or another dev member? I'm sure I could if I reached out. I've done some group AMA or group calls, video calls with Wolfie before, but I've never done one all by myself. I've never really thought about reaching out to anyone at this point, although I guess I could try. I don't know how easy it is to get a hold of like Yonatan or Michael Sutton and then interviewing them. Like, I don't know how I would even speak their language on those two because they're so technical and smart that a lot of what they say and the big words would probably go right over my head. But maybe I'll look into that at some point. The baby is good. The baby is good. She's 9.5 months old already. It seems like yesterday we walked out of the hospital. Absolutely crazy how time flies. But everyone's healthy, everyone's good. And she's progressing as a normal baby should, so. But I appreciate you asking. You don't know why her cat is named. Don't give her your seed phrases. There might have been a time where I was told why Bacon was the name. I'm probably going to get... I think she watches these at least sometimes. She's probably watching right now. I'm probably going to get yelled at after I get off of here because she's told me 9 million times why the cat's name is Bacon, and I just don't remember. I think you've caught one or two of them before in the past. Maybe not. Hey, KDK and Caspians, cheers to you all, and may Cas thrive in the near future. It should be fairly near, within a number of months now. I don't know how long all of you guys have been in the market. But it seems like, this treacherous journey of waiting, the ups and the downs and the FUD and the media, it can wear on you over the years. Obviously I was here last cycle, and so I've read this whole bear market, and it can get rough. Let's just put it that way. Especially if you're like looking at it every single day. End price prediction for KASPA this bull run, hoping for $1. I think if it gets tier 1s, it probably goes over $1. But we don't have any price history, of other, this is its first cycle. So we don't really have a history of what it's capable of, unless you go back to the beginning of the bear market where it absolutely, murdered every single other coin in the space. But yeah, it's going to be easier to like predict what KASPA can do next cycle, because we're going to have a full cycle of price history. I'd be happy with $1 though. I think for me $1 is kind of what I think the lower end, or maybe just under $1 would be the lower end of what I think is possible. I still go back to there's a lot of coins that have zero utility, don't do anything, and I know crypto's weird, and a lot of coins that literally are pump and dump scams, get to crazy market caps, even though they have no utility at all. But it's just hard for me to believe that KASPA, and even with the Bitcoin, maxis, it's garnering a lot of attention lately. Whether it be negative or positive, it's still attention. And I think that's going to help it when it's all said and done. Because you're getting at least a percentage of those Bitcoin maxis that are at least studying it, right? Not every single one of them are completely hard-headed and, live in a box, in a bubble, where Bitcoin is the only thing that you can own. And so you're going to get some trickle down from that, from other Bitcoin maxis. Yeah, Bacon's not having it today. Sorry, I don't think he's in a good mood. Normally, when I'm in here recording, he's literally annoying me, like all over the desk, all over my lap. I have to throw him on the ground multiple times. He's meowing. And today, when I finally put him on camera, maybe he's just shy today. I don't know. He didn't want nothing to do with it. Infamous, welcome back. Just trade based on moon phase and you will be in profit. Is that new launching platform? Am I tripping, or are you talking about the actual moon? Infamous is into all the astrological signs and stuff. There is a YouTuber or an influencer, a female with red hair, I believe, like dyed red hair, not actual red hair, that actually bases her whole channel off of full moons and moon cycles and astronomical what is it, astrological? That's not the right word, is it? Anyways, all of that kind of stuff. And sometimes she actually gets things right based on where the moon is in the world and stuff. It's crazy. I don't remember her name, so don't quote me. Riley says F exchanges. Yeah, well, we need them. I mean, we don't need them, but the price will go higher if we have them, so I would like to have them. They'll list. I'm positive Binance is going to list. I would be shocked if we did not get a Binance listing this cycle. Brocco, astrology, yeah, Bufflink, thank you. Astrology. Not really into that, so I forgot how to pronounce the word. Brocco says, which KRC20s are you still holding? The same two I've been holding since day one. And that is Nacho and Goad. Goad is actually up like 70 or 80% today, by the way. It had a pretty good pump off of the news. And remember, Nacho did like a 5x in a 2-day span not too long ago. Bufflink has hit the like button. Have you? He's asking, have you? Hey, Infamous, are you subscribed to my channel, by the way? I'm curious. Have you hit the subscribe button? Or do you just come in and hang out on the live stream sometimes? Here we go. Here we go. Yeah, we might be delusional, but guess what? Bitcoin maxis back in the day were delusional too, and look where they're at. Man, you were kind of positive last stream. And now we've got to call everybody in here delusional. Infamous is wallet number 2. That would be funny. The problem with just investing in Bitcoin this cycle is Bitcoin's near its all-time highs and KASPA is not. So, and most altcoins are not. You know, Ethereum is. Most other altcoins are not near their all-time highs. And what happens is you invest in altcoins, you make more money, and then in the depths of the bear market, you can put some of that money back into Bitcoin, and you'll have more Bitcoin than you would have if you just invested in Bitcoin. That's the theory behind investing in altcoins. You know what, Wyatt? That is actually a good point. I didn't put 2 and 2 together with the turtle being named Bitcoin. That is actually funny because I think it probably wasn't like a knock on Bitcoin, but it's actually funny now that I'm looking at it in that light, that it's slow. That's good. I like that. So Yonatan might have a sense of humor after all, huh? If you want fast and cheap fees, use Sol. So the issue is, Infamous, is that Sol is a proof of stake and it's centralized. And the ethos of crypto, right, from the beginning, is that you want to have a decentralized protocol, and you want to be able to finalize your transactions on the base layer in reasonable time frame so that people will actually use it in the real world. And I've told you before, I like Solana and I like Sui. I'm invested in both of them. But KASPA is like what's true to the crypto space. This is what Bitcoin and crypto was, you know, what it was set out to be in the beginning. No central barriers, right? And you can do what you want with your money, peer-to-peer transactions, you know, without the government getting in the way or whoever else getting in the way. All right, guys. I'm gonna take off for the day. We're right up at about an hour. I apologize to anybody I didn't get to, but I've got some things I got to take care of tonight. I still don't feel that great either, so I am going to sign off for the night. But I appreciate everyone being here and coming in and hanging out and joining the fun for an hour. Make sure you hit the like button and subscribe button on your way out, and In the meantime, guys, continue to pack your damn bags before it's too late. I will see you in the next video. Peace out.